welcome everybody to this session. We are going to discuss about Italian wines, Italian white wines, and in particular Trebbiano and Trebbiano d'Abruzzo. So, very briefly, I just want you to give an overview of Italian wine trend, just to let you feel a little bit more Italian, or let you feel the feeling that we are living now about grape varieties, native grape varieties. So. Even though you know very well that Italy has been focused for decades on red wines, now is focusing on more white wines. And white wine is getting more and more sexy, is getting more and more exciting, not only in Italy, but also abroad. And as Corinne said, native grapes from Italy and white wines from Italy is actually something that consumers are asking more and more, not only in metropolitan area, but all around your beautiful country. So the things that I want to say is that the uniqueness of Italian white wines is usually in their acidity, in their slender style, this mineral finish, and sometimes the profile that is not super aromatic, but very well based and rooted into the terroir. And this is something that makes Italian white wines unique. I remember when I was a student in the Master of Wine, I used to discuss with my fellow students, and everybody was saying, "Oh, Italian white wines are so difficult," but you can recognize them because of the acidity that you will taste also today with these beautiful wines, Valle Reale. You will see how Italian white wines are such powerful in terms of vibrancy and acidity. But obviously, I'm here to also discuss this great varieties, and in particular Trebbiano, with Laura Willamson, that is a master sommelier, and she's in charge of Valle Reale. As you know, Trebbiano is a family of grapes. So Trebbiano, as we know in Italy, we have to make a sort of differentiation between Trebbiano Toscano, that is very widely planted, and Trebbiano d'Abruzzo. Trebbiano Toscano tend to be actually very muscular in the mouth, a little bit layered, but very inexpressive in the nose, with a sort of expansive mouthfeel. On the contrary, what I feel about Trebbiano d'Abruzzo, and Laura will go deeper on that, I think that Trebbiano d'Abruzzo has something more unique also in the nose, with more aromatics, and usually a profile that it depends where it's planted. It can vary very much from heavy character to purity and slenderness. So, Laura, I know that you are very well known and very familiar with the Valle Reale, and I'm very curious to know more about this very it's not a big winery. I mean, it's only 14 hectares. So just tell me where it is located, which part of Abruzzo. Bring
And
me there, please.
absolutely. And it is so picturesque and so beautiful. You know, when you arrive, you are in the mountains. You are at the base of Gran Sasso, the highest peak in the Apennines. So if you can imagine, skiing is about 20 minutes away. But the beauty is that Pescara, the beach, is 30 minutes. So you have all of these elements that create this unique feel and play for growing different clones here at the altitude. So from coming from Rome, just to keep this in mind, there are fogs that come in and huddle in the vineyards. But the mountains also block that warm Adriatic sea, the breeze coming off the sea breeze is what we call it. So it stays cool. It has a longer growing season. That helps bring out this mineral tension, the salty saline, typical savory umami driven style that is that slender type that you mentioned here for this Abruzzese clone.
Yeah, just to make an imagine of Abruzzo.
Yeah.
Abruzzo is made like this. It's
Yes.
like a slice of bread.
Yes.
So here there is the sea, the
Yes.
Adriatic Sea, and here there is the Appennini. So over there probably there is Rome. There are the Apennines, and there is the part of Abruzzo. And we are more or less located here. So we are in the part where mountains are. So when you imagine Abruzzo and you say, okay, d'Abruzzo is Trebbiano d'Abruzzo. No, in fact, it's not only a matter of clone that Laura will explain very well, but it's also a matter of where it is located, because you have to make a huge differentiation between the huge amount of Trebbiano that is planted in plain, so close to the sea, and the more low yield expression that you can have when Trebbiano is planted in altitude. So what does it makes unique? So why altitude is so important for Trebbiano?
Um, it really is amazing because what it does is it elongates the ripening season. So as you know, those sugars build slowly, the acids don't really back down and they stay intact. I luckily have a little bit poured right here. So I'm just going to put my nose in it and smell it. Everyone, feel free to join if you have it. If you want to have that later, that's fine too. But as you start to smell it, it smells salty, almost like sea foam, sea spray, right in the mouth, in the nose. Then you'll notice more of that lemony, taut citrus effect, a touch of the underripe apple, more Granny Smith. And so once you start to get past that, you realize all of the layered celery salt, elderflower, maybe an herb, think of thyme or marjoram that's very clean. And you realize there's no oak on these. He doesn't use any oak at all. He wants the precision to come out and jump from the glass. So really, this is about experimentation with glass, fermentation in glass, as well as stainless steel to create the most inert, precise backdrop for the fermentation and production. So on the
Yeah.
palate, you'll notice too that sleek altitude that we talked about. We are farming biodynamically. There's no other answer to that because we're fully ensconced in a national park. So no impurities can go into the soil. So that biodynamic farming, which it says organic on the back, but it's actually biodynamic, all of that highlights and enunciates this focal point on the palate. You do get a little bit of that slight bit of bread, sourdough, touch from the yeast, the extended yeast contact to urge a little bit more out of this more neutral style. But it's so crystalline and pure. You know, it can kind of remind you of Albarino or even an Alto Adige Pinot Grigio, something where you've got more of those cooler influences coming into play.
Yeah, I mean, you feel the texture of Trebbiano
Absolutely.
because there is this combination of tension and glycerol in the mouth. But actually, in this example, you actually have this vibrancy in the acidity, and the profile is more vertical. Is rich, literally stay in the finish in the end of the palate. So. If I have to compare this example of from Valle Reale with the classic example that you find on supermarket or on a shelf, actually you feel that there is a lot of concentration and tension. So in my opinion, this wine that we are tasting is a 2023 vintage, is like killing a baby. I don't know if we can say that because
Yeah,
we are
it really
tasting
is.
we are tasting a wine that is super expressive now because you feel a lot of complexity, but there is in the palate this nerve and this tension that you see, okay, this wine is going to last forever, maybe. That is beautiful from Trebbiano. But tell me more about Villareale. We know that we are in altitude, we have 40 hectares more or less, and is there something I mean, particular in the from the producer? I don't know how many
Yeah.
how many grapes do they grow? How do they?
Yeah, so there's great questions here. And the first note I'll mention is that Valley Rally has been with Winebow for 25 years. And it has actually just been a winery for 30 years. So it's still fairly new in the whole realm. But it is, like we said, in the mountains, there's only roughly 6 or 7 producers in the mountain. It's also a small working farm. They make jams and other produce and kind of give away and trade and barter. There's also endangered species that are protected because it is a national park. So they brought back almost extinct bear and wolf. One other little tidbit, because the water system underneath is so pure, under their San Callisto vineyard is one of the sources for San Benedetto water, one of the most famous brands of water in Italy. So
Indeed.
imagine the pristine nature. That's kind of how I differentiate Valeriale. Then the grapes, just this Trebbiano Abruzzese clone, and
Mhm.
Montepulciano, the Polligna clone, which is a really kind of scrawny style of clone for the red that you don't see function on the coast. So everything is so unique about this winery, what they do. And believe it or not, I know in Italy there are many more that really understand this about Abruzzo because it is a mecca for escape and paradise. So Valorelli has 3 bedrooms too. It's a small bed and breakfast right on property, but it is a very special haven. You feel at meditational zen when you're there. It's really a beautiful property.
And also the fact that they are biodynamics, I think it's something that add value to this, because if you drink it, you can see the energy of this glass. I mean, it's not the energy. I want to explain this because when you find a wine that has a lot of acidity and vibrancy, you can say, oh, maybe this has been harvested in advance or before, but actually, the nature of the aromas, the nature of the fruit is here is ripe. So you have a lot of precision, is pure and pristine, as you said, but is rich in a way. So there is this combination between the opulence of the Trebbiano itself, but also the tension and the nerve. So the fact that we are in altitude, the fact that we also grow grapes biodynamics, I think is a good combination for this. And you remember how many bottles do they produce in total?
Yes, so even of this, and we call it the basic entry level Trebbiano, there's not even 2,000 cases produced, about 1,800. And then there are 2 other specific vineyard designated Trebbianos. Those are closer to, for Popoli, 500. And then for the convent in Capistrano, about 200. So we're talking very tiny quantity. And then I wanted to add one little component because, you hit the nail on the head with the way that this is actually very ripe, but still sleek in its mineral drive. And the reason Leo aims for that is because he wants these wines to age. And so
Yeah.
even when I was in Italy, just, in April, he pulled out a 2015. He had to kind of take it back from a Michelin starred restaurant in Milan. He doesn't have any older stash, but I was mesmerized how incredibly youthful still, easily 10 years to go on that wine that is of age 2015. So that's just
Indeed.
a little note about longevity and its power, its capacity to hold.
Everybody misunderstands the capacity of aging of Italian grape varieties, but actually, when you find an example like this, you cannot say, "Okay, this is a wine to drink now." You really understand from the glass, and then you ask yourself, if you are blind, for instance, you ask yourself, "What is this?" And then you understand that it's Italian, but also you understand very easily that it's a wine that can age for decades. And this is something that it is in somehow a trend that is going to happen more and more in Italy, in all over Italy, especially in the south. So yes, Abruzzo, Campania, but also Sicily with Etna. Those are the region, in my opinion, where white wines from native grapes are shining more because. Also, the north of Italy has a beautiful variety of grapes, especially Trentino and Alto Adige. We have a lot of varieties, but most of them are international grape varieties that are growing there from since I don't know where. So they are considered native, but actually they are Chardonnay, Sauvignon, etc. But the beauty of these wines is that they are deeply rooted in the terroir. They are deeply connected with the people that made them, and also they are wines that can age beautifully. So I think the trend for the future is more and more about drinking Italian white wines. And in my opinion, I think that those kind of wines are gaining our reputation, that are more and more appreciated also from in Michelin stars restaurants and fine dining restaurants. So, Laura, usually, where can you find this kind of wine?
Well, so this wine works beautifully as a, you know, a discovery, let's call it, in a by the glass program because it's very affordable. The suggested retail price is around $22 to $24 for this tiny artisan production, biodynamic. So think
I
about,
want them all. It's not
I
fair.
know, I know. So I'm always encouraging as a fun glass pour where you want to guide your guests to something a little bit more unique and not yet discovered. So that's a great point. But even in retail, in those shops where you love to guide your clients,
Yeah.
that's a great fix too. And I always start this story when I try to explain that, wine first began here with the monks. There were the Benedictine monks on the property here at Vallerale. Vallerale takes its name from the valley. It's literally the valley's name. And then over across the hill where the convent vineyard is, Capistrano, there is an active monastery. That's where it gets its name for that property. And so, that's kind of a crazy story to think about the history going back to the late 1200s and where we are today, still with these plantings, still trying to prove how incredible this is and package it into an encouraging story for either retail or restaurants. But I still call it a discovery, though it's been known time and time again.
And I think that the beauty of this wine is also that you can uh, tell a story to people that is in some cases beyond the glass, because there is this beautiful story about the location, about the history, as you said just now, and in some cases you can just focus on the glass. I think that in this case, Trebbiano d'Abruzzo and in particular Vallereale is providing a complete story about Italian wines and where they are going in the future. So, just a very final thought about the future of Italian white wines, in your opinion.
I honestly think that today this is what our younger population is craving. And I find that with the generation that is focused on health and focused on natural, all of these attributes of what Italy possesses in this example too are what they're discovering and loving. And then when they realize that it is so sustainable and connected and with a lineage of time, it makes perfect sense. And if we're in that mood of farm to table, let's support this natural angle. This is the way to go about it. And, there's nothing better to cover across the vegetables, the seafood, the porcini risotto, however you want to name it. I love the fact too, when I'm showing clients for the first time and they take a bottle home, I tell them if you don't finish it all and you forget about it, leave it in your refrigerator, cork in it, leave it for 2 weeks. You are not going to believe how it comes alive even after that time. So the ability to just still wow us, those are all the points. And this is Italy wrapped in a nutshell.
We discussed about a beautiful niche winery that is actually screaming something different in respect to the rest of Trebbiano d'Abruzzo wineries, especially the big ones. Thank you, Laura, for let me taste this beautiful Trebbiano d'Abruzzo from Vallereale, and I hope to come there, to go there soon and visit.
Very much. Thank you for guiding us today.